Hello and welcome to the very first InfoSec Live, Securing Our Cyber Futures. My name's Simon Linstead. I'm the founder of the InfoSec Live community and your host for the show today. I have some very exciting news. We have a special star co-host, surprise star co-host joining us today, and I'm going to waste no further time because we've got a fair few guests to get through. I'm going to bring him straight in and introduce Mr. JJ Davey. JJ, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Simon, and thank you for the warm introduction.
Absolutely.
A lot of people in the community may know me. My name is JJ Davey. I'm the Chief Educational Support Officer at Cyber Mentor Dojo, and my role is primarily to help build the community, help ensure that there's a good relationship between the mentees and the mentors, and help ensure that the platform that we have is actually delivering the right amount of value and exceeding expectations where possible. And I believe that myself, Cyber Mental Dojo, and the other communities that I run, and InfoSec Live, we have a very common goal, which is to help people. So I'm very looking forward to today's discussion.
I'm super excited. And for those that obviously won't be aware, I actually spoke to JJ for the first time yesterday. And we only spoke for around an hour, but it became clear that our motivations were the same. And after speaking to lots of people in the industry over the brief few 8 months that I've been in it, JJ is one of the few who I've actually looked up to myself with regards to being motivated to try and pursue a career and try and make a difference. So when we actually got to speak yesterday and I found out that we have much more in common than I thought, I was super excited. And then when 15 minutes before the start of the show today, JJ, you very kindly sent me an email to say you could come on, I was even more excited, just a little bit ill prepared. So firstly, let me say what the reason of the show is. The reason for the show is to try and showcase some of the talent who have either recently broken into the industry or are trying to break in. And as JJ rightly said, the communities he runs and the community that I recently founded, we've all got the same aim, which is to try and help people. So before we bring our first guest on, JJ, how long have your communities been running now?
So for Cyber Mental Dojo and Cyber Job Hunting, they've primarily been running for about a year now. So it's still quite young. We're still learning. There's still lots of growing pains that we're going through. We're still trying to get some feedback from the communities to find out more ways that we can provide more value. Everything that we do is at a very low cost. So we need to make sure that we can provide value as if they were paying for something. So it's still very difficult to get that balance to make sure that we can provide them high quality and good value while not making any profit, because at the end of the day, knowledge really should be free. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make it free, but we're trying to build a community so it's beneficial for everyone.
I think that the thing is that, JJ, I agree with you on it should be free, and I've done everything I can over the last few months to do everything and make it free. But there does come a point where you end up having to pay for certain services to be brought in to help people. And the thing is about not overinflating that and making it affordable to everyone. And we've got a globally diverse group of individuals coming on today, but we'll start with a local lass. And we'll start with Naomi, who I believe, Naomi, where are you? You should be coming on my screen and I can't see you. Can you see her, JJ? Was it just me?
No, she may be having some technical difficulties.
Naomi, is your camera on? No, let's come back to Naomi. I see Tara Jane sitting down at the bottom, now looking nervous that I'm now going to pull her on. Tara Jane, let's bring you on first because I think Naomi's got a problem with her connection. Yay!
Hi.
Yay! So,
Yay.
Tara Jane, hello and welcome. And
Thank you very much.
Please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Tara Jane. I have only recently joined the cyber industry, I guess if you could call it that. I'm somewhat of a chameleon. I've changed job roles and industries about 4 times over the last 2 decades. I've been in property management, in building surveying, in wholesale retail distribution, in hospitality and tourism. I change the subject to what's available and what I can find depending on the country I'm in, because I've also changed countries a lot recently. I started cyber.
Tell us more about that. Tell us more about that. You say you've about changing countries recently.
Yes. So my husband is in the cyber industry. He's been in it for about 5 or 6 years. And I guess you can say he was headhunted. So within, 2.5 to 3 months of him being offered a job in the UK, we packed up and we moved 7,000 kilometers across, that's what, like a third of the circumference of the earth, to Canada by the mountains. So it's only 9 o'clock here in the morning where I am. So that's what I've been doing.
Wow. So that whole move right in the middle of your cyber journey must have disrupted things a little bit for you.
It has, especially because I suppose in any country, if you're not a citizen, you have to have a permit or residency to be able to work, and I don't have one yet. So I have applied for jobs, but unless I'm given, there's something called an LMIA here, where the company is willing to pay a fee and to tell everybody that, you know, why they can hire me rather than a Canadian citizen, then I can be hired and work here legally. Otherwise I have to wait for my PR. So I've just been studying and revising and watching your shows and things like that, just to keep me busy and and up to date in the meantime.
So what job are you actually looking for, Tara Jane?
To be honest, I've always had a thing for pen testing because I'm good with reporting and I've got a mathematical mind, or so I've been told. But at the moment, I just want to get my foot in the door. So whatever and wherever I can get a job, really, I'm really not fussed at this point, to be quite honest.
I know how that feels. Seeing as I introduced you as a co-host, JJ, and all I've done is talk ever since, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to say a few words now as well to Tara Jane.
Brilliant. So good to meet you. It's good to meet you. Good to meet you, Tara. So the thing is with cybersecurity is that it's very easy to move laterally to different parts of cybersecurity. So while you may be a SOC analyst, there's nothing to say that you can't move into pen testing, and vice versa. And there's also an element in information security. You could do something like GRC, and you can express your interest for so you can express your interest for technical security and move laterally to those different realms from there. It's all about how you. I don't like the term, but it's very apt. It's how you play the game, and there's different ways that you can approach your manager, your career in such a way that helps you break into these different parts of the industry. All you need is that one little break, but there's different ways you can make it happen. And I can go into that a little bit later on.
Sounds good.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Sorry, my mic was muted. Quick warning to all of our viewers. I'm a father of 6 children. 5 of the younger ones have just arrived home from school. So it may end up being chaos in this room in a few minutes. And if it is, I do apologise. Tara Jane, have you got any questions before I bring on the next guest for JJ?
Not really, because you kind of put me on the spot, so I didn't really get the chance to really think about it.
Well, why don't we come back to that after? Why don't we come back to you at the end? Okay, well, look, if you don't mind muting your microphone, I shall go back to Naomi, who I think's technical difficulties are well and truly over. Yay! Here she is. Hi, Naomi. How are you?
And thank you. How are you?
Brilliant.
Good.
I'm really well. We spoke for the first time today, very, very briefly. So would you just take a moment to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about you, please?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Naomi. I'm a cybersecurity student at the moment, retraining from a field in anti-poaching training, surprisingly in South Africa. I had my own business that I was running, anti-poaching training business in South Africa. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out the way that we hoped it would. So last year I came back here to the UK, was sort of looking for a new direction for my life, a new career path. And I've always been good at computers. I've always enjoyed working with computers. And I stumbled across a cybersecurity learning pathway, and it sort of drew me in at first. I did some research, and then I saw the similarities between what I had been doing in terms of protecting a physical asset, how I could then apply that to cybersecurity. So I decided to commit to it, and I've passed my A+ certification, my Network Plus certification, moving on to Security Plus at the moment. I hope to do that exam in the next 2 weeks. After that, it's on to Pentest Plus and then Ethical Hacking. So
wow.
I'm very new into the industry, but I've been working as hard as I can. I'm really enjoying it. And the more I learn, the more I want to learn, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Can I just dig in a bit deeper? You mentioned pathway, and the whole reason for the show is sharing the success of learning pathways and routes that people have taken. What pathway is that? Is it a structure, or is it something you put together yourself?
So it's a structured one. So I'm doing my learning through the Learning People.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the pathway that I'm on to be certified ethical hacker. It starts with the A+ certification, Network Plus, Pentest Plus, Security Plus, sorry, then pen test, and then onto the ethical hacking qualification with the EC Council at the end.
And how long is that over? What period of time?
2 years, really. So it's a year for the first 4 certifications and then a year for the ethical hacking. For me, anyway, it can be different for people. You can do it over shorter or longer times if you want to.
You've got to fit it into what suits, but you can fit it into what suits you. It's good to hear of all the different options out there. JJ, any insightful comments or questions for Naomi, please?
Yeah, so what I tell quite a lot of my mentees is that when you're studying, you don't want to get to the point where you can remember the answers to multiple choice questions, but you want to have enough knowledge that you fully understand the core concepts and constructs of what you are learning. You want to get to that point that if somebody asks you a question about what you're learning, you can confidently articulate your knowledge enough to be able to answer the question fully. And that's when you come from a greater understanding. So when you are studying for the exams, have in the back of your mind that passing the exam is a byproduct of your hard work. Your main focus should be gaining that knowledge to be able to articulate and apply it to different scenarios. And the best of luck for your journey. And if you need anything, you know where to find me.
Thank you. Great advice.
Microphone muted due to child noise. And then the dog started barking. Naomi, is there anything that you found particularly difficult so far in your journey?
In terms of the studying, I mean, it's very much, as JJ says, it's one thing to learn the content of the curriculum. It's another to actually be able to apply it. So I think for me, in order to gain more understanding, it's been going out and actually practicing. So I put a virtual machine onto my laptop and downloaded Linux on there and started practicing, and then also using platforms like TryHackMe and Hack the Box and other various ones. I feel like they give you a bit of extra practice that you need to sort of put the theoretical knowledge into practice, really.
Yeah, you see, that's where I went wrong, Naomi, and we had this discussion earlier. I tried to make the jump from A+ to OSCP, which quite clearly, after speaking to people in the industry and spending time in here, was suicidal in a way. But it made me realise that the fundamentals, it's all very well going up the rankings on Hack the Box, but if I don't actually know how I'm doing what I'm doing, it doesn't really help when it comes to getting a job. So that's why I've decided just to interview people on here now instead. I think it's the best way forward. But let's move on to Nikhil is our next guest. Thank you, Naomi. Nikhil, please say hello and introduce yourself.
Hey, hi everyone. This is Nikhil. I'm from India. Basically, I am a cybersecurity professional. I work as a application security engineer, but I also do pen testing engagements as well. But I recently moved into cybersecurity actually, and it's a very funny story behind it. Around when I was in my high school, I was very interested in hacking and stuff, but I thought it was criminal work and all. So I was like, no, I had to stay away from it. And so I didn't learn much. At that time, cybersecurity was free. We might know, so after that, I left it. Then I mostly pursued my bachelor's degree, where I worked on machine learning, cloud computing, and web development as different fields. And every field in IT feels like I can adapt to it and learn more and improve on everything. And when into what happens here is placements and all, on campus interviews happen. So then I got an opportunity to interview for cybersecurity, and luckily I got in and got a pen testing and role and all. So for the past 9 months I have been learning everything and all. And recently I just bought my first certification. I'll be giving it on December 10th, EJPT.
Well done.
I've already completed the course. It's just a matter of time that I give it, because it's a huge money concept. I have to think twice before is this the right one to give or not. That happens.
Nikhil, let's go back to last year for me in OSCP. I didn't know or wasn't on social media, so I had no real direction or what support to get. And from the small interaction I've had from EJPT, it actually seems quite good. JJ, have you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so I actually done EJPT last year just because they had a sale on. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get it and see what it's like. And I accidentally started the exam. So I pressed the wrong button and it chucked me into the exam environment. I was like, oh, I've got to do it now. because I don't want to waste an exam attempt because I've got to pay for the next one.
Brilliant.
And all in all, it took me about 4 hours to complete the exam. And I would say that from the content that I should have learned or should have revised, it gives you a very good understanding of the kind of the core fundamental concepts of pen testing and how to approach a pen test. The best bit of advice I can give you right now is utilize different training platforms. Really get familiar with the different tactics and procedures that you're going to be using as a pen tester, and how to approach different problems that you may find. So how to exploit different services. And also, and here's a big tip as well, get familiar with networking. So make sure that you're familiar with that as you move forward.
Yeah, that's where I fell down massively. That the whole pen testing, coming into the industry, selling pen testing services. I had this chat in the community yesterday. It was only about 5 months ago that I knew the difference between a vulnerability assessment and a penetration test. So I don't know how hard it is, not only for people learning, but also for businesses out there who are now looking to adopt a more security first mindset, even knowing where to start. And for me, I see that as a big growth area in the industry, and also a potential route in for people like you, Tara Jane, and you, Naomi, and perhaps you, Nikhil, as well, from a consultancy
Definitely.
perspective. And I don't know what you think about that, JJ, but there seems to be a missing link. We've got lots of technically gifted people, but there seems to be that consultancy piece that's missing. You've got, virtual CISOs that are expensive and well worth every penny that people pay for them, but we need something. There's a missing cog. JJ, do you agree?
Absolutely. And there is a big problem that I'm seeing today is that we have these extremely hyper-technical people, very, very knowledgeable, but they lack the ability to translate what they know and articulate it to their audience. So they're failing interviews for very, very simple reasons. And then when they come off the interview, they're like, oh, I knew that. But in the moment, because they're not confident, they don't adapt well to pressure, they're unable to articulate their knowledge, the real them doesn't get seen in the interview, which is a shame. So a lot of my communities, we encourage people to do a presentation. We get them to talk. We put them on the spot, jump out their comfort zone, and build that confidence up. So when you do come to the part in your career when you do need to talk about what you're doing, so whether it's an interview, whether it's presenting to a board member or presenting to your manager, presenting to your team, you can confidently do that and get your message across without it being diluted or missing the message.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And the reason I absolutely agree is because it's the only bit of value I bring to this industry, JJ. There's no technical ability here at all. I could talk the hind legs off a donkey. How's that? But it is a missing piece, and it's also a skill set that can be learned. And I hear too many people say, yeah, but you're a natural people person, Simon. Yeah, I'm a natural people person because I've been in sales since I was 16. It's processes and behaviors you learn. So it's little things like listening skills, active listening skills. We can all sit here and pretend to listen, but until you're actively listening and I suppose achieving dialogue rather than a communication, which is when you're both trying to achieve the same thing rather than what I do a lot of, which is just waiting to get my next comment in rather than actually listen. We're all pretty bad at that sometimes, but when you take the time to look people in the eyes, go as far as mimicking body language, which then becomes second nature, you'll find that you build rapport with people much, much quicker. And I would suggest to anyone out there looking for work, if you can work on those soft skills, whether it's through Cyber Mentor Dojo or Cyber Jobs Hunting or any other community, practice is definitely the way forward. Thanks, Nikhil. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to move on to our next guest, who's someone I've known probably half of the time I've been in the industry, which is a whole 4 months. And this is Jose. Jose, turn your camera on.
Here I am.
Yay! I thought we were going to have another camera nightmare then. How are you?
All good. And how are you? And thanks for giving me this space and for the opportunity to be here. So thank you very much, Simon, for that.
No, absolutely. And Jose, we met, was it 3 months ago now in the community? Yeah. And we met through, I was looking for freelance work on Upwork, and I came across a job. Back to the consultancy thing again, I was offering a consultancy service to match people up with professionals. It became clear on this joint call that I wasn't adding any value whatsoever to this, apart from an extra layer of cost for the client. So I bowed out, Jose, didn't I, at early stages and kind of left you to deal with the client yourself. And we've been friends ever since. So please tell everyone a bit about how you got into the industry.
Okay, hello everyone, and yes, my name is Jose. I am from Ecuador. It's a northwest country in South America, and I got into the industry a couple of years ago. But 2 years prior of that, I started learning about ethical hacking, cybersecurity, taking courses, and then I got an opportunity to start working on pen testing with Cobalt.io platform. They offer pen testing as services. I've been working with them these last couple of years in different pen test projects with different clients. Um, Web application, mobile, internal, external network, security assessment, and but besides that, I'm looking to looking for more things, more opportunities, get to know more people. It's not just working, but also get to know people, because knowing people is totally important, and just know people and be friends and everything, because we can support with anything from each other. So that's very important. So that's when I as Simon said, we met 3 months ago. um, we were working with as he said, with the Upwork platform. I'm currently working with a client with thanks to Simon, and there's also 2 more prospective projects, not necessarily he's in the security industry, but also has a developer. I have a diverse background, so I've been doing as software developer, sysadmin. So what I mean is that, this community it's awesome, it's growing, and it gives you the opportunities,
I think, Jose,
to
I
all.
think the fact this industry is full of people like JJ and many others who actually want to help, right? And if we can bring all those people together and help each other, it will work, because by sharing things like this, it's invaluable. If I'd have had the internet when I was learning cybersecurity and not lived in a caravan, I would have really benefited from listening to these kind of conversations, because you're getting those insights into what career to go for. And I went as a pen tester because I like the glamorous part of red teaming, and I just wanted to try and blag my way in a building. That's the only reason I wanted the job. But there are other ways of getting work, and Upwork, as you mentioned, Jose, is a huge area where you can develop work even as a newcomer to the industry. Because back to the networking, and I'm not talking computer networking, but people networking. If you can develop a group of people around you who you can work collaboratively with, easy for you to say, Simon, you can then provide a consultancy service through a freelancer platform like Upwork or any other, famous freelancer platform, and get yourself into the industry that way. So that's my 2 penneth. JJ, your 2 penneth, please, sir.
Volunteering,
Yeah.
local charities in need. I before I even got into cybersecurity, I sent a email to my local council offering foster parents a cybersecurity awareness presentation. They actually originally turned me down, but they actually turned me down and gave me something to go learn. They gave me some resources to go learn. And I went back to them 2 years later, offered the same thing. And they turned around to me and they said, we've seen your stuff on LinkedIn. It's absolutely amazing what you're doing. We'd love you to come talk. And the guy that actually turned me down was actually retiring. And he said, I would actually like you to take my place. I said, I can't actually work full time, but I can more than help volunteer my time. But there's always something that you can get from volunteering, even if it's a local charity shop, just going around making sure they're secure, all their staff know that the tips of security. It gives you experience, and it's something that you can put on your resume and in your CV, and it helps you stand out. And it also gives recruiters that ability and interviewers that ability to see the selfless side of you as well. And it just oozes emotional intelligence. So go ahead and just volunteer if you can.
I completely agree with that, and I volunteer outside cyber as well. It makes you feel good anyway, helping people, full stop. But also, the art of negotiation or winning anything is by giving value first. And if you're out there in the community showcasing what you've got and helping other people who are either a slightly earlier part of their career path than you, or they can benefit from some of your previous experience. It's the only reason I've done all right in cybersecurity so far is because I've come in and helped people. It isn't because I've got any kind of amazing gift, that's for sure. I'm being deadly serious. It's about genuinely helping people, because I see a lot of people also, and I'm not talking about businesses or organizations, I'm talking about individuals who are trying to get noticed, but doing it wrong. And I think, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And if you're not doing it for the right reasons, it does become apparent really quickly. And I think that shows. So again, we offer some resources within InfoSec Live, as I know JJ's community does on those soft skills. And I'd recommend anyone reaching out to all the communities they can to try and improve on that. So now we've got all of us on the screen at the same time. Let's pick on JJ because he's the expert here and I want to take advantage of his knowledge. So JJ, tell us about, because not everyone will have heard this, tell us about how you got into the industry.
So I was actually a network engineer in the armed forces for 5 years. I left the armed forces, became a service desk analyst at Lockheed Martin. I absolutely hated that role. I thought, this is not me. It's not where my passion lies. And I was just like, I'm jobless now. What do I do? So I was there poking at recruiters, and this recruiter called me saying, I've got a graduate SOC role, but you haven't got a degree. But would you like to go forward anyway? I said, yeah, go put me forward. So I didn't even know what a SOC analyst was at that point. So put me forward. But a few weeks later, I got an interview and I was like, oh my God, I have no idea about security. What do I do? Got to the interview and they gave me a computer. They said, I want you to solve this scenario. So they gave me a problem on a piece of paper and you've got to write me an email that solves the problem. So I went ahead and done that. They were looking at me angrily and I was like, I've not done it, have I? I've not got the job. And they turned around to me and said, we're going to give you the job. And I said, fantastic. And then that opened my eyes to cybersecurity. And I was there for about a year. And I thought, right, I need a new challenge. So I moved to Carnival UK, which is a cruise ship company. And I was their tier 2 SOC analyst at that point. So 1 year took me to go to tier 2. COVID-19 hit. That took away that job. So I was made redundant and moved into a pen testing role for about 6 months. And then I moved back into security operations, where I currently am at the moment with CyberClan. And I'm hopefully going to progress into a much higher role as my career progresses. So really, I've been in cybersecurity for about 4 years and technology for about 10 years now.
Okay. And I mean, you kind of breezed in by the sounds of it, JJ, with your laptop quiz there. You made it sound quite easy for some people who are trying to break in. It wasn't, was it?
No.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? Because I've got no idea what they could have given you to do, and I'm really intrigued. So come on.
So what they did is they gave me a scenario, and the scenario was a computer with malware on it. And they just gave me that. They said there's a computer with malware on it, and the customer is angry. So what they wanted you to do at this point is they wanted you to just write an email that solves this problem, but also takes into account the customer's frustrations. So it tested your ability to communicate to a customer, but it also tested your ability to troubleshoot a problem and provide a solution. So it's very difficult to do that because you've got to really dig into your knowledge and look at it from different perspectives. Like, what if the customer isn't that technical? What if the customer is too technical? What if I give them the wrong advice? What if I make the problem worse? And there's all these different things going through your head. So you've got to really try and apply different perspectives to the problem to be able to come up with a reasonable solution. Because it's all about conflict resolution. There's not always going to be the perfect kind of solution to a problem, but you just need to make sure that the solution and the customer is both good and it suits their needs. Yeah. So they come away at least satisfied, if not happy, exceeding expectations.
But we're getting back to those soft skills, JJ, because to
again,
do that,
yes,
you have to know how to fact find and uncover not only hard facts but soft facts as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's very difficult to do, and this is where I think most cybersecurity professionals go wrong, is that they become too entrenched in the technical stuff that they start speaking ones and zeros.
Yeah.
So when you talk to different departments in the business, whether it's finance, HR, legal, your manager, your manager's manager, you need to be able to talk to them at their technical level. So they may not know what a media access control address is, but you could just say, oh, it's how the computer identifies itself with other computers.
You just made me realise why I've got on all right, because I don't know what that meant either.
So it's just being able to talk to different parts of the business, because essentially cybersecurity is a business function.
Yeah, it is. While you've been saying that, obviously, apart from thinking how useless I am, it's also made me think, in the UK, we've got an app that my wife spends a fair bit of time chuckling at people's comments on, called Nextdoor. I don't know if that's a global thing or whether it's a UK thing. Does anyone know if that's a global thing? No. It's a bit like, I think in the US, you call it Craigslist or Gumtree, because we've got another thing here in the UK. And what it is a local community-based site for local people to share, whether they've got stuff to donate or any interesting stuff. How about for those trying to aspire to set up a little service on those kind of platforms? Because I know I've mentioned a couple of specific ones, but surely there's other community type online communities that you can join and perhaps put together a social awareness program to help train these people, like JJ was saying at the start, about giving back to charities. Well, if you put together a little, I suppose, a family cyber awareness package that you could deliver out within your local community, that could be a great start for you, not only building up your reputation. JJ, what do you think?
I think that's really good. And one of the things that actually worked for me quite well is relating cybersecurity to a common problem that tugs on the emotional heartstrings of your audience. So if you're going to be looking at families, maybe if they've got children, you need to make sure that you can address any risks to the children that may be present. Yeah. So when I was doing the talk for foster parents, one of the common things that what I was talking about was online safety for children. And instantly, parents are like, I need to be aware of this because my child is at risk. And that's an emotional investment into your security awareness training. And that's something that really grabs their attention.
Do you know what, JJ? It's something that everyone's told me to stay away from apart from you. And it's called disturbance tactics is what it is, because you're painting a picture of what could happen to these people's children. And I've told this story before, but I will tell it again because it's relative. In financial services, we used to do a lot of business insurance and also life insurance as well. And back in the day when, I think it would have been 99 or 2000. So I had a laptop in a briefcase with a printer. You can imagine how high tech it was. And we used to go to the clients, either houses or business premises, and you'd go through that soft fact and hard fact gathering, or fact finding, as we used to call it, exercise. And you'd get to the point at the end where you'd have to start to cover off what would happen in the event of anything happening to them. And it's not a conversation. We all hate death, right? Our culture, for some reason, shies away from talking about the thing that's definitely going to happen to all of us at some point in our lives. So it was always a difficult one to broach, but we had a little video, right? And the video used to show a family, mum, dad, 2 kids. And you'd say, okay, Mr. Client, so if you got hit by a bus yesterday, what would happen to the house over the roof of your family there? So the man disappears on the image and the wife and the children. Would the mortgage get paid? No. Would the bills stop? No. Would you're trying to get them to understand and think about, if it had happened, it's got to be yesterday, otherwise you're tempting fate, in my opinion. And then the next slide was the mum disappeared. Now you're making it really uncomfortable. You're then engaging, and relate this to business owners, right? If you can relate this as a cyber message to how a cyber attack would affect businesses or families or communities, you're on a winner. And everyone said you can't use these tactics in cybersecurity. Well, I completely disagree, because unless we do start to educate people and disturb people with what can happen, we're going to end up in the muck and fuddle, that's not swearing so I can say that the industry is in at the moment. I'll be quiet now, JJ, and let you speak.
Yeah, it's very true. Is that we need to be able to speak in the language of risk when we're talking to people. We need to let them know that there is a viable threat out there, and it is a viable threat to your personal cybersecurity or your business cybersecurity, whatever it is. And then we also need to show them the impact of if the threat or the risk did come into fruition. So we need to be able to demonstrate impact. Otherwise, you are just a town crier going, you're going to get hacked, you're going to get hacked. It's like, well, how, why, what's the impact, and how could I protect myself against it? So not only tell them the problem, tell them the impact, but also give them a solution. Because at the end of the day, we're not here to instill fear. We're here to educate. We're here to make sure that people walk away from us with more knowledge and feel comfortable with being able to apply different security controls and different security practices to their own life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm conscious that we've got probably 20 minutes or so left. I did say I'd come back to all the guests and give them a chance to ask you a question, JJ. So I hope they've got some really awkward ones lined up for you. Let's start back with Naomi. Have you got a question for JJ, please?
Yeah, I would. I'd ask you. So, what's the best advice that you could give somebody like me starting out to help me plan a career that's working for something that's not just a job? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. So you want to turn it into a passion.
Yeah.
So first of all, you've got to build a brand. You've got to stand out, but you've also got to work on what your message is. What is your message that you want people to hear? And that message is something that you're going to carry on to throughout your career, throughout your life. So one of my personal messages was selfless commitment to help people. So everything that I do has to be molded in such a way that it fits that kind of passion of me being able to help people. Now, when you move into the cybersecurity career, you can still do that. You know, for me, I want to help business owners, business leaders, business stakeholders understand the risk and be able to keep themselves safe and secure when they're online. So for me, it's not looking at it as look at it from a different perspective. It's not a wage that you're trying to put into your pocket. That's a byproduct of your career. You want to make sure that the roles you go for, they tick all your boxes. So when you're in that interview, ask dynamic questions. Don't let them ask all the questions. Return some questions back. Get a feel for the business. Ask them what they enjoy about working there. What's their things that they want to do? Maybe any challenges that they may have. So you can get a feel for that kind of business. I've been there where I've been in different parts of my career where I've really not enjoyed it, and I've almost lost touch with what I enjoyed. I almost lost touch with cybersecurity. There is going to be points in your career when it's going to get like that. Just remember while you're doing it, what's the greater good, and that's going to really kind of fulfill that passion. There's been times where I've never wanted to study. I've been completely burnt out, and it's all about having that balance as well. Make sure you're taking plenty of breaks, making sure that you're not burning yourself out through studies, through overworking, knowing your own limits, and trying to keep that passion on fire.
And for anyone else who's ever been involved in competitive sports or hyper-focusing activities, you can soon lose interest as well. I swam at a high level when I was younger and trained sort of every morning throughout my childhood up until I was about 15, and every evening after school. And it got to the point where I resented it, so much so I still don't like going swimming now. And I'm trying to relate that to studying, because I crammed like crazy last year to get into the industry, and failing OSCP did me a favour because I'd got lost and I couldn't see the wood for the trees and I couldn't see that direction. But I suppose as JJ said, the more you reach out and give back, the more that you'll get back. And I can't say that, enough times. Tara Jane, let's come to you next. Thanks, Naomi. Let's come to you. Question for JJ. I've given you ages now, so don't come here and say you haven't got one.
No, I do actually. Well, Simon has told me that perhaps I should stop studying now because I've been studying for about a year. I recently completed a course called CapSpot, which gave me such a breadth of knowledge with GRC, pen testing, etc. I would like to get into a techie role, but I don't have the experience. I mean, it's only been a year, but I do have lots of experience with management. I was an operations manager, etc. Would you suggest then that perhaps to get my foot in the door, that I just go for the managerial type roles and then try and, through that learn more techie stuff, or just take a techie entry level role and work my way up? I'm really not bothered because like I said, I'm passionate about the industry. I love learning. I love computers and that type of thing. So either which way. So what would you suggest? Just do entry level, pretend like I'm a 21-year-old who's just left university, or a 40-something-year-old who's got 20 plus years of experience, and just do the managerial thing and then try and do it that way?
So I wouldn't go for the 20-year-old approach, because you have loads of transferable professional skills that can translate very nicely into different roles. Another thing we need to take notice of is that cybersecurity is absolutely massive. And it's only a subset of information security, which is even wider.
Yeah.
So if we look at information security, say your GRC, your governance, risk and compliance, that actually builds the requirement for cybersecurity. I mean, let's look at it this way. If the security department the technical security department was not there tomorrow, the business will still make money. But the information security part of it will help guide the business in terms of protecting their organizational value. So you're still having an impact, and maybe you're not on the keyboards, updating machine, applying patches, looking for threats, taking apart malware. At the same time, you're still working towards that common goal, which is protecting the organizational value. So for me, it's like, well, assess what you want to do. If you want to be that kind of managerial and you want to help manage information security, then maybe look at GRC kind of roles. There's a big skills gap in GRC. There's not a lot of people going there because people want to be pen testers. People want to do SOC analysts. They want to do malware reversal, but they're not looking at the nuts and bolts of the GRC.
Why do they want that, JJ? Why does everyone want to be a SOC analyst? And why does everyone want to be a pen tester? Because it's the only thing people know that there is.
Because I think with the likes of, it's been like the Hollywood kind of drive behind it, Mr. Robot has really glamorized the kind of the hacking mentality, the hacking culture. And with that, businesses have also jumped on that to say, hey, do this to become a hacker very quickly. And everyone's like, black hoodie, dark background, hacking NASA with a calculator. It's something that we can all do. And then when you get to it, you actually realize that most of it is actually just writing a report of how you've done it. And you're like,
that's why I was so disappointed. You said about the calculator. Can you remember these? You're not old enough, are you? Can you remember
it's probably older than me.
It is, yeah. I bet some of my guests might. Anyone remember that calculator? It's a fortune telling Casio FT7. It's for sale right now if anyone wants to buy it. No, I'm only kidding. But I think you're right. Everyone keeps trying to come in for these specific roles. Tara Jane, you bring a mass and wealth of experience to the industry, as do everyone else on this call, from your own experiences. And it makes me not laugh, but it makes me cry when I see so many veterans, other people pivoting from other industries, trying to get entry-level roles in cyber. I don't get it. I know I tried to do that last year, and it's easy for me to say now because I kind of stumbled in on the sales thing. But again, sales is another angle in. If you can hold a conversation, you can engage people, why not look at the technical selling side? Because I know enough to go and sell a pen test. Now I know the difference between one and a vulnerability assessment, but I don't know enough to do one. So why not use the skills we've got where you could go in and do the fact find on the clients and identify the need, as it were, and refer it across. So again, don't write yourselves out of potential sales roles or introducer agreements, maybe with security companies, to try and fund your way through education as well, because I know that's, it's definitely worked for me. Thanks, JJ. Nikhil, and thanks, Tara Jane. Sorry. Nikhil, do you have a question for JJ, please?
Definitely. I have lots of questions.
That's one, Nikhil. That's all you get.
Yeah, I know. So basically, right now I am also mentoring my juniors, basically, from my college only, since I am just a 2021 graduate. So I'm mentoring them as well. So what tips would you give me, how to go ahead and what kind of things I should tell them, so that it becomes easier for them to understand? I know about the application security part, the pen testing and all, but the GRC and all, that kind of things should also be known, right? I didn't know that. After I came into cybersecurity, I figured that out. So that's how do I tell them that? I still don't have much knowledge about that.
So this is where a lot of people, they get really entrenched in the technical stuff, and then they start to become very laser focused on that. And one of the things I always tell my mentees is that, how would you apply what you're learning to the business? How would you talk to a business leader about what you're doing? And if you can't answer that question, then one, you don't know what you're doing. Two, you're too technical. Or three, you've not really looked at the context of your role, of what you're doing. I mean, a lot of times I tell people, read your job description back and see what your roles and responsibilities are and see what that can relate to. But one of the things I tell people is just really diversify your studies. So I'm doing a CISM course at the moment, and that's purely just so I can understand information security governance and management, so I can see what my role does and how I fit into the picture. And that's the kind of perspective that cybersecurity professionals need to have when they're moving forward, especially when you start to get to more senior roles. So it's good to start it now. You don't have to become a GRC nerd. You just have to know that it exists and be aware of it and aware how it could influence and impact your particular department when making maybe purchasing decisions or building process and policies and procedures that may help your function align to the business strategy, whatever it may be. Just go ahead and do it. So my advice would be for them is to start early. Don't leave it to the last minute. Otherwise, you are going to be playing catch up. So maybe add about 30 minutes of just quick GRC studies at the end of your study sessions, just to quickly kind of round up and keep that knowledge fresh, keep that grey matter working.
The good point there, JJ, was the different perspectives that are so important. And you could also relate... Sorry, Nikhil.
Yeah.
One second.
I'm just sorry. Yeah, you can.
It's all right about the different perspectives for past employment experiences as well and how they can work. So I know that Naomi mentioned earlier that she had her own business before. So she'll understand how it is from business's point of view, how the different cogs in those different areas work. And I think that's what you're saying about having an understanding of how the whole cyber and the infosec part works. But Nikhil, it's also bigger than that. It's understanding how the whole business works and what drives these people to make decisions as well. Sorry, Nikhil, over to you now.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about what I wanted to ask was it's a different path what I'm asking right now. Okay, it's basically I have been studying since COVID-19 started, and I have been on a fast-paced studying and all, and it led to a burnout. I'm still burnt out, I know that. So how do you counter burnout but not be too lazy as well, and how to get a balance between both of them, right? If something like that exists and makes sense.
So treat your brain as a sponge. It can only soak up a certain amount of water each day. Treat it like that. And once you're getting to that point where you're looking at these words and you watch these videos and nothing's going in, stop. Because there's no point carrying on studying. Stop, go outside, do something else. Also, don't ignore your passions. If there's something else that you'd like to do in your spare time, go ahead and do it. Take your mind off studying. You're not going to forget it just because you've stopped studying. You're not going to forget it because you've stopped studying for a week. This is the big problem in the industry, is that they dedicate so much time to studying, but not a lot of time to life. Yep. Going on holidays, living, breaks, going out for a good time with friends, socializing. These are the kind of things that help you manage your burnout. So a good study-life balance is what you need to be able to counter that. So just take a week off studying. I know it sounds absolutely wild and you're probably going, oh, no, I can't do that. Just try it. Just 5 days, just go out, put a backpack on, go hiking, whatever it is, just get out there and refresh yourself, and you'll come back completely recharged.
I can't agree more with that. And I think that relates to everything in life. The importance of rest, I can't understate it. And relate it to any inventor or any genius who ever thinks of something amazing. They never think of it when they're working on it. I'll tell you that for nothing. They think of it when they're in the shower or when they're in the garden or when they're playing football with their kids or whatever it is it might be. I haven't had one good idea sitting at this desk. I mean, you could argue I haven't had one good idea at all, but the ones I think that have been good always come when you least expect them. And it's, again, giving your brain time to process everything you're shoving in. And I read a book, this isn't a plug, because the book was written in the 60s, called Psycho-Cybernetics by a guy called Max Maltz, I think. And it tried to explain how the brain worked as a goal-setting mechanism. And I can't, I'm going to crucify the content of this book probably by trying to put it across. But it was likening it to a keyboard and a mouse being the input devices, which are our eyes and everything we see and hear and the screen every day. But the processing of it happens subconsciously that we're not aware of. And that happens when we're resting, which is why sometimes we wake up with really good ideas. And that's become such a major part of my life in every aspect, not just studying. So when JJ says about taking a break, best things happen when you're not working. It's when you'll get your best ideas, in my opinion. I'm conscious that we're running out of time. Thanks, Nikhil. You did say one question. You still managed to get two in. I knew you would.
I'm really sorry about that.
It's all right. It's no problem. Jose, you must have a question for JJ. Come on.
Not just one, but many. But our time is not that much. But yes, I have a question for JJ. My question is, what advice would you give to people that live in certain areas, regions that may in their local cities may not have that much opportunities, and even if they move to a bigger cities in their own country, they still don't find those opportunities, and they have to look for other alternatives, other paths. What advice would you give? Well, I have find well, I have found my path, which is already starting. You, as you said, which is excellent to volunteer. You can train, you can apply, but is there something else that people should or could do in order to get into the industry, even if their local country cities don't have that opportunity?
So one of my mentees was in quite a rundown area, and they had the exact same query. They said, "I really have a passion for this, but where I am at the moment, there's just nothing there." And I said, "Well, why don't you create something? Why don't you create a local community? See if there's any other like-minded people there. Why don't you become your own leader in that area? Become the brand in your area for cybersecurity, and just create that kind of opportunity, create and that own path yourself." So what this person did was, and it was quite phenomenal, they set up a local community, and they grew from 100 to 1,000 people in the local area, and they end up becoming a security leader, a community leader. And businesses, local businesses, wanted them to come help with their cybersecurity, end up setting their own consultancy for that local area. So we're going around local area consulting businesses, and it's all about creating your own path. Not everybody has to do the same thing. Life would be incredibly boring. Sometimes it's not worth taking the beaten path. Sometimes it's ripping down that signpost and think, right, that's the direction I want to go in. I'm gonna get there, even if there's so many hills and mountains there on the way and there's obstacles. You just need to know where you want to go and your end goal, and just see what works for you. You're going to fail. Of course, you're going to fail, but you need to learn from that failure. And just once you learn from that failure, just realign, readjust, and keep going.
It's constantly being aware of the adapting and changing environment around you as well. And you see it with big companies all the time. They stand still, they don't move. And that's why JJ's community has grown so quickly. And that's why InfoSec Live's grown so quickly, because we've listened to what people want. And if businesses did a bit more of that, maybe we should turn this into a business, JJ. Hey? If businesses did more of that, then they'd engage more with people. But they don't. And I think I've been self-employed. I mean, my first job was selling mobile phones self-employed when I was 16. So I was literally knocking on businesses' doors when mobile phones were like this big, saying, "Do you want your fleet of vans to have a really clunky handset with a cable in it so that you can speak to all your drivers?" And I did that off the back of sitting in my local pub one night. Yes, I know I shouldn't have been in there. I was 16, but they were very lenient when it came to rules back in the 90s. And the guy behind the bar was moaning that he paid a fortune to lease his payphone on the counter. So I had a look. I can't remember what the electronics catalogue was at the time, but again, I like tech. And I saw that you could buy these pub phones for about 100 quid. So I put a markup on it and sold probably 15 of these to different pubs. And so much so that someone then noticed I was doing that, who ended up selling his digital phone company for about 7 million in the UK. And I jumped out of that right at the wrong time as well. But my point is, you've got to be in it to win it. And if you're in there and you're out there doing stuff, putting yourself out there, and like JJ said, you might not get it right to start with. It doesn't matter. As long as you are not too arrogant to accept your mistakes. And my biggest thing is not to be driven by ego, because I was driven by ego for 45 years and it is a road to disaster. I'll tell you that for nothing. We won't go into that, but diversity, trying different things, pushing the boundaries and making a difference are my key buzzwords there, Jose, I think. JJ, everyone's had a chance to ask you a question now. So I think I should get a chance to ask you a question as well. I just haven't got one. I'm practically trying to wrap my brains. If I wanted to, okay, so I've come into the career in sales, but I've still got this really keen interest in trying to break stuff. If you were me, would you continue learning the technical side, or would you just focus on being a gob on a stick and presenting shows like this?
I say, why not do both and let them complement each other?
Well, so I actually knew what I was talking about. Nah. I think for me, that's why people like you are here, JJ. I had this conversation with Will Hunt from Insecurity the other day as well. He said, "You'll be a pen tester one day." I said, "The thing is, whilst I love it as a hobby, and I don't want to do it as a job, because all I want to do is break it. I don't want to then give you a report on it that takes me 4 hours. That's the last thing I want." JJ, have you got any inspirational words that we can finish on? We've got 5 minutes left, so I thought I'd give you a chance to tell us a bit about what you're working on at the moment.
So for me, it's about being passionate and always asking the right questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable either. You know, just because you think you're right, don't always, you know, accept that you're right. Just ask for different perspectives, because sometimes that perspective can be very motivated in terms of your studying. It wasn't until last year that I thought I absolutely knew everything I needed to know, and I found a mentor, my personal mentor, who absolutely blew my mind open to information security. And I was like, wow, week one, day one, I've got lots of things to learn. Don't be overwhelmed with what you need to learn. Make sure that you plan your studies logically. Don't try and take on too much. So if you want Hack the Box, try Hack Me, and you're on all these different platforms, try and limit it to just one platform and just focus on that. If you want too much, you've got too many commitments and you're going to burn yourself out. So just reduce it, make it logical for your goals. If it's not applicable, don't worry about it now. Worry about it later. Just worry about what you've got now. And always ask for feedback from whether your manager, your mentor, whoever it is. Ask for feedback, because sometimes we don't see ourselves in the right picture and we need someone else to explain to us where we're going wrong and where we could do better. So always ask for feedback, and that's my kind of advice that I'd give to people.
It's very good advice as well. And I think the mentor thing is great advice. And it doesn't even have to be a cyber mentor. My mentor is someone not in the industry, but someone who keeps me motivated. And that for me is what I need from a mentor. Other people need different things. Other people need direction. I just need someone to keep going, "Go on, Simon, it's all right. There's a good lad. Carry on." You know, I'm that insecure adopted kid who needs a pat on the back all the time. And my mentor's my wife. You know, she's the one who's there all the time saying, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. You'll be fine. You know, and we all need that. And that's why I try to reach out in the community. And I think JJ does as well, because positive mindset means everything. You can achieve anything you set your mind to. And my parting shot before I put this question up for JJ, I've just spotted, is everything starts with one thought, right? So if you look at InfoSec Live, my mum, I thought I was losing my mum about 6 months ago. And I sat there one afternoon inwardly on my laptop and came across a website I built out for my wife. And then I thought, well, I could turn that into a cyber resource. So I then went on Companies House and looked at what names there were. And InfoSec Live Limited was available. So I registered a domain, and look where we are now. And I'm sure it's the same for Cyber Mentor Dojo and all these other great things that have happened. It was a thought. So if I can do that from a thought, and JJ can do that from a thought, and actually help all these people, so can you, every single one of you on this call, no matter what way you go forward. I'll stop waffling now, because there's a good question here for you, JJ, we'll finish on, which is this one. I obviously can't help with that remotely, so I'm hoping you will.
So there's lots of different certifications out there that can help you into your particular role, but you need to make sure you know what particular cyber role you want to go into. Security is a perspective, it's a mindset. So while you do know how to build a network and you do know how to administer a network, it's then looking at it from a security perspective. So how can I make something secure? Once you get that perspective, that becomes very powerful to find a role in the future. But when you talk about certifications, you need to make sure, one, the certification gives you usable knowledge that you can take forward with you in your career. And then two, is it recognized in your local region? Is it something that appears regularly on job descriptions? So one of the key tips that I give people is look at your local area, local jobs, look at the most common certifications that come up, look at those certifications and see if they actually are applicable to you as a person and you as a career and as a professional, and just make sure that it fits your goals and your motives. Because you don't want to be taking certifications that don't help you get to your short-term goal. It's like, even if you're 1 year in security, CISP is probably not right for you right now. It'll probably be right for you in about 4 years' time or 5 years' time, but for you right now, it's probably not. So just make sure you know where you're going, look at local job descriptions, and look at what appears regularly.
Thanks, JJ. That was brilliant. Thanks, everyone. It's been really, really good. I was a little bit concerned about having so many people on at once, especially with my constant desire to interrupt everyone. So it's not gone too bad, I don't think. And JJ, it's been amazing having you come along. I appreciate that so much. I've got a little quick plug here. I'm an advisory board member of the Whole Cyberhuman Initiative, which was set up by Paul Cummings. I know he's in the audience tonight. And I just wanted to share this that he'd put in the chat, is the fact that they've got an instructor-led cyber awareness training for volunteers to teach the local community. Naomi, I think you've already connected with Paul. For anyone else, Paul and everyone there are doing some amazing work, as is JJ with his community. Can't speak. I'm going to shut up now. It's now 5 o'clock. We've been on for an hour. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. If you could all give everyone a wave to say goodbye, I'm going to play out with a clip from the community. Oh, it's like a cheesy 90s TV show. I love it. I'm going to play out with a clip from the InfoSec Live community members to tell you a bit about what we do. Thanks so much for coming on. JJ, it's been an absolute pleasure. We must catch up again soon. Everyone, see you later.
Thank you. And it's been so great to be part of this awesome community where you can learn, get potential jobs, and this is the part that the community has helped me the most, being able to get a great contract in security, and thanks for this.
You don't have to be super experienced in order to contribute. They really foster a sense of community, and they encourage everybody to contribute anything that they can, regardless of whether you're just starting out in your career or if you've been in a career for decades. I like the different challenges that they have, the different pathways that you can follow, the fact that you can join communities that are specific to you and your needs. It's a new and growing and thriving group, and I'm really proud that I was able to be a part of it from almost the very beginning.
It's given me a community I could lean on, and the people in there are always willing to help. I've also gotten to break into cybersecurity because of InfoSec Live, and I'm very grateful for that.
Cybersecurity professional or trying to become one, you need to get onto InfoSec Live.
Whether you brand new to the field, whether you are pivoting from another IT career or you're pivoting from a non-IT career, this is the place for you to do. Also, even if you are an experienced professional, there will be something here that you can learn.
InfoSec Live has been great for me because it's brought me closer to other like-minded people, and I've been able to pick the brains of some real industry experts that are also part of the community.
To the right place, because listen, let me tell you that InfoSec.live is everything that it claims to be. A vibrant community. They've got all that you need on InfoSec.live. Listen, they tell you, InfoSec.live is addictive.